Holy crap. Hello and welcome back to Bacon at last. I know it's been a while since I last did Cinderella Phenomenon. I'm very sorry. As you'll notice in my update that I made, just a lot of stuff's been happening. But yes, I'm back. Now there won't be any regular scheduling for this, but, at least it's happening. Alright, and hopefully I'll get to a point where I can get back into regular scheduling. But again, life stuff, etc. Oh, I just noticed the cards! Each time you finish something, I guess you get a card. That's adorable. I remember in the other one you would get like a face picture or whatever. I guess they're like wedding invitations. That's cool. Okay, getting into it. Now, I remember the last thing was we had a decision to make. Oh, did I press start? I totally did, didn't I? I meant to press continue. Darn me! Yes, we want to... Oh, never mind. Cool. I just had to press escape. Escape. Alright, so remember we had a decision to make between attempting a rose and casting an ice spell. Yes, I want to load. I'm going to assume, since so far, I kind of watched my my last video at least a little bit, and then I also remember how, like, you weren't supposed to take, Llama's hand, you weren't supposed to let him help you because it was, like, making karma insecure, which is just silly. So since, unfortunately, things seem to be more about the guy than her, including in this route, I'm going to assume it's create a rose. An ice spell would be safe, but perhaps I can cheer Klaude up with something new. And as usual, here comes Ashes. Hello, child. I also have 2 crying babies now because my roommate adopted a kitten. And he has learned if he's particularly chatty, he can get our attention. I'm doomed. Alright, the gaping maw that is my cat has been satisfied for now. And the Milo unit, which that's his name, he is asleep on a top shelf in the kitchen. So I think we're good. I have made a lot of things before, but never a rose. Still, it cannot be that difficult, surely. I hold up my hands, cupping them in front of me to create a small platform. I squint down at the palm of my hands, concentrating the magic in my body into my fingers. The magic beneath my fingers. The magic beneath my skin is a subtle thing, but 2 years of practice has made it easier to grip and shape it into something. I close my eyes briefly, imagining the shape of a rose. The first thing that comes to mind is the rose locket on Claude's chest. The one that I gave him. I attempt to draw the shape of it out into reality. That's actually a really good inspiration. One, I always do better when I have something visual in front of me whenever I'm like drawing or painting something. And 2, again, it's another nod to reminding him, hey, I do love you, here you go. Calm the heck down. If I can shape ice, this is nothing. Oh. That's... I open my eyes and stare down at the object in my hands. Oh, it's cute! It is indeed a rose, but much to my disgruntlement, it is flat. Extremely flat. Its shape resembles the flat metallic shape of Claude's rose locket, only it is awkwardly balanced on a vibrant green stem. A single wiry leaf juts out from the stem. I like it! I sigh as the rose caves in on itself. Aw, this is not impressive at all. I will try again. But... Lucette, wait. Claude takes a step forward and then reaches past my shoulder. He touches his fingers to the petals of the delicate rose. Much to my relief, they do not fall. I think it's beautiful. I agree with Emmeline. You would. I like Emmeline. Just as a reminder, I like Emmeline even if I make jokes about her. Claude smiles as he plucks the rose from my fingers. I thought the rose caved in on itself, though, so it isn't there anymore? He holds the strange flattened flower up to his nose and smells it. So it's an actual flat... That would be perfect for, like, pressing between book pages, though, which is probably exactly up his alley. It also smells far better than a normal rose. I'm inclined to agree, and a rose made out of magic is more special than a rose plucked from a rose bush. It's lovely, Lucette. But it's so flat. It looks like it might fall apart off the stem at any moment. I shake my head slightly and attempt to snatch it away from Claude. He only holds it out of my reach with a mischievous smile. Helps to be tall, doesn't it? Darn you. Fine, you can keep it then. Claude smiles. He holds the rose carefully in one hand and leans down to kiss my cheek. I most certainly will. He keeps the rose clutched gently in between his fingers as Lance turns to me. That was amazing, Lucette. Your magic is beautiful. And fierce. Sometimes too much so. Rod! I scoff. You make it sound like my magic is aggressive when it is not. I barely have any reason to use magic in the first place. Most of the time I only use it for convenience. And then I sometimes use it to make gifts for Klaude, just to upstage him. I love that they're competitive. Like, it doesn't even come off as, like, say, toxic competition either. Like, they're not purposely competing on every single level. It's just, like, silly playfulness, if that makes sense. And they also don't hold it against each other, or at least I hope they don't, whenever one loses or one wins. Lance thanks me again for the demonstration before excusing himself. He and Emmeline rush off for extremely important plans. Rod heaves out a great sigh before eventually following after them. I hope they are not trying too hard for my birthday celebration tomorrow. I remain with Klaude while he eats a late breakfast and then head out with him when he is done. I know that our time together will not last long. Klaude has to take off to another lesson, and I have a meeting with my father. It is another discussion about the implementation of new laws in Angiel. Remember when I couldn't say Angiel? Before the two of us go on our own separate ways, Klaude turns to me with the rose still in his fingers. I am going to return this to the room first. I am sure that when you see it later tonight, it will have caved in on itself, like it apparently did earlier, but didn't? Maybe I misread that. Maybe it's me. Maybe I did it wrong. You have no faith in me, Lucette. Okay, so that was the correct answer. Hoo-ha! I forgot that in this one it takes a while. I'd completely forgotten that I have to get like a symbol that says, you got it right. So, we better hope I don't get any of these wrong, because I might not notice. And apparently my usual, you got this one wrong, you gotta go back, source of information has never played this route. So, uh-oh. Oh no. It is more that I have no faith in the rose. Klaude flicks my forehead, bringing me back into reality. Next time you do that, I'll freeze your pretty eyelashes. You think my eyelashes are pretty? Klaude bats his eyelashes at me and chuckles. I wouldn't mind. It would be a nice change in aesthetic, I think. He plants a quick kiss on my forehead. Until we next reconvene, love. After a quick exchange of farewells, we separate and go on our own ways. I almost stumbled there for a second. Blah, 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 blah. The day turns out to be busier than I had anticipated. Except for a short hour break in between, I barely see Klaude, and there comes Ashes again. Hello. I just fed you. She never bothers me when I'm at work, you know, working online. It's only when I'm recording. I was even in a podcast that's coming up this week with a friend that I'm going to be posting on Wednesday, and she did not cry. It's just when it's Cinderella phenomenon. It's like she somehow knows. Except for a short hour break in between, I barely see Klaude. He manages to give me his gift for the day in between our responsibilities. It is a feat for the eyes. A simple yet elegant blue dress decorated with lilies. Aw, it's pretty. Klaude is good at selecting dresses. Given his prior experience with them, the king always seems surprised when I tell him that Klaude helps me compile my wardrobe. I know I will have to wear this dress sometime soon as well. This thought hangs in my mind as I continue about my business. The rest of the day passes in a blur. Even the evening moves quickly. I have enough time to sit down to dinner with my family before I have a meeting with the witch from town. By the time I am finally able to head back to my room, it is 9:10. My body feels incredibly heavy, and all I want to do is crash onto my bed. I have just turned the bend in the corner when I hear soft music coming through the halls. I stop to listen. Klaude must be playing the piano. Strange. He usually does not play if I'm not there to play with it or watch him. I walk the rest of the way to my bedroom, then open the door quietly so as not to disturb Klaude. Ooh, hello. The music wafts out of the room like a gentle breeze. The minute I step inside, I see Klaude at the piano, fingers gliding across the keys to create the... Hello, Ashes. Come here. Come here, girlie. Come on. She demanded in my lap. You're interrupting the sweet moment, man. The music wafts out of the room like a gentle breeze. The minute I step inside, I see Klaude at the piano, fingers gliding across the keys to create the beautiful sound emanating from the instrument. He is so immersed in his music that he does not notice when I step inside and shut the door behind me. He looks solemn, yet at peace, his eyebrows drawn in concentration as he focuses on the keys. Even as I watch, the rigidness of his expression begins to crumble away into a gentle smile. This song, it is beautiful. Will I break his concentration if I move to sit beside him? Oh boy. I feel like it would be more romantic to join him at the piano, but would he get mad about that? But if I patiently wait, he might be seen as spying. Why am I seeing this in the more negative light of things? Okay, well, this one has more of a positive connotation than the other one, to me. So we're going to go with join him at the piano. It will be fine. Klaude knows how to focus. Oh, cute! I make my way over to where he is sitting at the piano and quietly slide onto the bench beside him. I wonder if she would have joined him still at some point if, Kitty, stop! Okay. Let's go back. I make my way over to him where he is sitting at the piano and quietly slide onto the bench beside him. My thought was, I wonder if she would be in the CG if you chose to wait patiently. Like maybe he calls her over or something at some point. The song does not stop even when Klaude inclines his head toward me slightly. The gentle smile never falters. In fact, his eyes seem to gleam even more when he notices I sit beside him. Well, this is a most pleasant surprise. I was wondering when you'd be back. I set one of my hands down on his knee and lean my head onto his shoulder. It's been a long day. I'm sorry I couldn't lighten your workload, darling. You deserved a more lax day today. You deserved to be spoiled. I know I do. His playing at the piano ceases as he puts his hand on top of mine. I guess she wouldn't have been in the CG then. Klaude, you spoil me every day. Spoil me every day. Sometimes too much. It is fine. I furrow my eyebrows slightly, realizing that my presence has probably put a damper on his playing. I interrupted your playing, didn't I? I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing, darling? I know what I always say. I know what I always say. You know what I always say. I certainly hope I know what I always say. Klaude smiles at me mischievously, and here comes Milo. Uh-oh. Yes, correct. I always notice the most pertinent things, and you are far more important than any piano piece. He laces his fingers through mine before leaning forward to press a gentle kiss to my lips. The feeling of his lips on mine causes my earlier stress to melt away completely. That little bell you're hearing is from his collar because we had to give him one of those cat safety collars with a bell because of how much trouble he gets into. We need to know where he is at all times. Isn't that like most kittens, though? Everything around us fades to a gentle blur when I kiss him back. Probably more so him than most other kittens, actually. Anyway. For some time, it feels like the world has stopped around us, and then there is just the two of us. At times like this, it feels like we have all the time in the world for each other. I am the first to pull away. I poke Klaude in the chest and smile as I slide off the bench. What song were you playing? I wonder. Is it really necessary to keep it a secret? This song wasn't meant to be a surprise for tomorrow, was it? Klaude just looks at me with his lips curved into a cat-like smile. So if I had just stood there listening to the entire thing, I would have destroyed the whole surprise. I'm going to assume that is a yes. Me too. I move to sit down on the edge of my bed. If you're in here playing, I am assuming that you are done for the day? Klaude lets out a sigh as he leans dramatically back on the piano, one arm draped across its surface, the other resting on his forehead. I'm afraid the night still has yet more excitement for me. Is it a meeting with Father, or assignments from your history tutor? Klaude scoffs at me. I'll have you know I'm on top of all my assignments. I am just as excellent a pupil as I am an instructor. Your ego knows no bounds. It's confidence, love. Confidence. Claude sighs as he stands up and stretches. Afterwards, he turns to look at me. I'm afraid I have certain plans for tomorrow that I must check in on. Plans for the birthday party? You really don't need to work so hard for me, Claude. Much to my surprise, Claude's smile slips, his expression fading into something more somber. I will always work hard for you, Lucette. I would do anything for you. That will never change, even if I cannot be... He stops suddenly, his lips sealed. You cannot be what? Claude looks at me, startled for a few moments. He steps back toward the door, then abruptly he begins to laugh. Never mind me. A tired man says a lot of peculiar things. Oh dear. What's with all these guys holding secrets? Come on. When he smiles, the look is once again melancholy. It is a sad smile. Now, I said I saw the last video, but I kind of like skirted through it a little bit, and I didn't go back and look at the other two routes. So I remembered I had done Rod's route, but I completely forgot until I saw that card at the beginning that I had ever touched Rumple's at all, which thank goodness. I remember now that I did it first just to get it out of the way, and I hated it. But if I'm recalling correctly, both the first two routes I did, both Rumple and Rod, they were really bad about keeping secrets. Rod in particular, but like we all understood why. It was for like a surprise party thing. But what is with everyone keeping secrets? Come on. It's one thing if it's like stuff that happened before the two of you got together. That's none of that person's business. But now that you are, it is. Good gravy. Oh, she a purring. Claude, are you okay? Yes, Lucette. I'm just a little tired. Don't look at me like that. I'll be fine come tomorrow morning. Claude? He stops in front of the door, hand on the knob. Yes, darling? You remember that we promised there would be no secrets between us, right? I would never forget a promise I made with you, Lucette. He says the words with enough conviction that I cannot help but be relieved. This is just a passing stress, I promise. You should still tell me. Even if you don't feel like it's that big a deal, you should still say it. I nod my head, relenting. Now I regret to say it, but I'll be a little late tonight, so you don't need to wait up for me. He blows me a kiss. I love you, Lucette. Good night. And we all know it's probably going to be something good in the long run. Good night, Claude. But still. He steps out through the door and closes it behind me. Behind him. Good gravy. Once he is gone, I fall back down on my bed, my eyelids fluttering closed. My body welcomes the softness of the sheets and the comfort of my pillows. I wonder if there's some way to figure out why Claude looks so sad. Someone that could tell me how to help him when he's like this. The question whirls around in my mind for a while, but it is not long before the desire to sleep overwhelms my worry. Not long after I close my eyes, I find myself drifting away into slumber. When I next wake, my bedroom is dark and quiet. The first thing I'm aware of is my heart, which is beating painfully against my chest. Another nightmare. I put a hand to my forehead as I glance around the room. I notice that Claude is lying beside me, undisturbed. The gentle rise and fall of his chest, along with his soft breathing, tells me that he is asleep. I find the clock in my room and stifle a sigh. It is past midnight. I have no idea how long Claude has been asleep, and I do not want to wake him. Sometimes, when the nightmares are terrible, I end up waking Claude to discuss them. I end up waking Claude to discuss them with him. Other times, when I am sure he needs the rest, I do my best to forget the nightmares on my own. I could use some fresh air. I quietly slide out of the bed and make my way toward the door. I glance over my shoulder at Claude one last time before quietly stepping outside and shutting the door behind me. The palace corridors are quiet at night, save the muted... The palace corridors are quiet at night, save for the muted footsteps of the patrolling knights. At first, I am at a loss for what to do with myself. I could sit in the garden, or I could walk through the hallways until the voices fade. If it's bad enough you feel like you have to leave the room... Well, I understand why she's hesitant, too. She's trying to be considerate of him. But if it's bad enough that you need to leave the room to just calm down... Even if he hasn't had a lot of sleep, I'm sure he would have rather you would waken him up, considering that he cares about you. That I'm sure he would have rather have had the chance to comfort you, to help you out through that, than to leave you to it. even if he's tired. But I understand why, because I would have made that decision too, to be fair. I would have left him to just rest if I knew he had a long day already. Especially considering how exhausted I was, and I didn't even have as long a day as he did. Even if my duties were more, if that makes sense. My legs begin to move on their own. Every step sends me down the hallway and closer to a branching corridor. I am not entirely sure where I'm not, okay. At this point, I'm stumbling like crazy. Okay, I'm back. I had to hydrate my mouth. Hopefully that'll help. I have just moved into the conjoined corridor when I see a familiar face. Jurian! Princess? Jurian stops in front of me, her eyebrows drawn together in a clearly anxious expression. Good evening, Jurian. Good evening, Your Highness. Couldn't sleep? It has been a restless night. Are you still working? For a little while longer, yes. And what about you? Just taking a midnight stroll? I've bumped into Jurian quite a few times on these aimless night strolls, and she always worries. I was. There is no cause for concern. You say that, Princess, but any royal's actions are a concern to us knights. And now I have to keep my eyes out for both you and the prince. The prince? Rod is also up? Oh no, Prince Lance of Brigantia. He was out here earlier murmuring to himself. That is a little strange. I saw him heading into the dining hall last. I sent a few knights over that way just in case. Perhaps he just left his room for a midnight snack. Klaude used to be up at midnight all the time when he first came here. It sounds like a typical Brigantian lifestyle. I don't blame them. Before I found out that I was lactose intolerant, I used to have the midnight cheese, which sounds weird now that I've said it out loud. I meant that I would go into the kitchen and have like a slice of cheese or a piece from a block of cheese, or I'd have some shredded cheese. I'm sure there's other people who know what I'm talking about. The midnight cheese, like that doesn't sound like, okay, anyway. If you need anything from me, I'll be on patrol for a little while longer. Don't hesitate to call on me, Princess. I will not. Thank you, Jurian. Jurian turns to walk away, but then pauses to glance over her shoulder. Oh, and Princess? I hope we can all practice together again soon. Yes, I hope so too. It has been a long time since all four of us have been able to participate in mock battles. Jurian flashes me a small smile before she strides away from me to continue her patrol. If Lance is up right now, perhaps I should go see him. Without another thought, I begin to make my way to the dining hall. Sure enough, the first thing I notice when I step into the dining hall is Lance, who is sitting at the head of the dining table, his hands clasped as if in prayer. He is murmuring something beneath his breath. Lance? Lance glances up at me, bewildered. His shock almost makes me feel guilty. Did I interrupt something? No, not at all. Why? What are you... No? He lets out a deep sigh, his shoulders sagging slightly. A weight seems to fall off of him as he does so, and when he looks up, he once again exudes his usual cheer. That's not suspicious. I was wandering around the palace when I noticed the dining hall was empty. I wanted to sit down for a few moments to practice a speech, but... He looks down at the table. The downcast expression takes me by surprise. It is very uncharacteristic of the usually very charismatic Lance. Sometimes I get so caught up in memorizing that I forget about everything around me. I'm sorry. There is no need to apologize, but you were practicing a speech? For whom? It's fine. You do not need to speak about it if you do not want to. I'm about to head out again when Lance calls my name, making me stop. Have you ever given a direct speech to the people, Princess? Before, I used to shun people. I disliked going anywhere near them. Since breaking my curse, however, I have learned to open up to the townsfolk. The king has me address them directly on our monthly rides out to town. Of course. I see. If you were asking me that question, I am assuming that it is because you were practicing a speech for a big audience? Lance smiles a little half-heartedly. I was. The moment Klaude became engaged to you, I became next in line for the Brigantian throne. Father has been waiting for me to give a speech officially announcing myself as Brigantia's crown prince. The moment Klaude asked for my hand in marriage, he had to relinquish his position as the crown prince of Brigantia. It never occurred to me that Lance would have to take over something he was unprepared for. Poor thing. And how is his speech going? Lance sighs. Terribly. I die a slow death in front of large crowds. Klaude has always been better at speeches than I have. I prefer speaking to people one-on-one. Large crowds are terrifying. He has stage fright? No doubt you both have your own strengths. Talking to so many people at once requires practice. Right. Lance still looks disheartened. The look on his face is so similar to Claude's that I cannot help the small stab in my heart. And I have not been saving before any of these decisions. Oh no. Oh, I gotta get back into a proper saving thing, because otherwise I'm gonna have to go all the way back to this. Oh wait, no, they've been correct so far. Oh, that's right, they've been correct. We're all good. Never mind. Never mind. But man, that is a close freaking call, isn't it? Whew. Okay. Suggest you go to Klaude for help. Offer to help Lance. I feel like if you want that, they might want to bridge the gap between the two princes. So the first one would be good for that. But at the same time, she relates more to Lance. So offering to help him, you know, using her perspective that is similar to what he is talking about might help. But Klaude is the better one of the two to teach. But Klaude might also purposely mess him up a little bit. Maybe not, actually. Claude's not so petty, and I need to remember this. Klaude is not so darn petty. Rumple is. You can't persuade me otherwise. Rumple is just an awful person in general. That he would actually purposely mess up his little brother, but at the same time, I don't 100% know. Like, the safer option feels like it would be to offer to help Lance. And I'm glad I saved now. I'm gonna go with the first one because I really don't know. Oh, he looks mad that I suggested that. Oh, maybe it was the wrong decision. You said Klaude is better at spotlights, right? Then he should be able to help you. The two of you are brothers. He knows you better than anyone else. Even though Klaude gets jealous of Lance frequently, the two of them are still brothers. I know Klaude loves him. And Claude's overwhelming confidence allows him to speak to crowds with ease. Most people find him very charismatic. Hasn't Klaude been really busy recently? I wouldn't want to take away any of the free time he has with you. Lance. You would be taking away the free time either way if she had suggested it, so. Lance has a forlorn look in his eyes. He stares past me at the door, his eyebrows furrowed. I think he had the same thoughts as me. He's like, I don't know if this would be a good idea, ma'am. Llama. He flushes a crimson red that has me smiling despite myself. That's adorable. He and Klaude are similar in the strangest ways. You may as well ask Klaude. I wouldn't mind sitting in during your practices if time with me was ever a problem. Besides, I always get ample time with Klaude despite what he might say. Most of the time he just is needlessly dramatic. Just like me! Though I do have to agree that we have both been pressed for time this week. Hopefully things will settle down after tomorrow's celebration. I will try asking him then, though. Say it more decisively. You will ask him. Lance laughs a little sheepishly. Then he clears his throat and speaks in a voice filled with conviction. I promise that I will ask him. Look at that determined, angry face. Good. Oh. Lance looks at me wide-eyed. What is it? It's past midnight, isn't it? I'd almost forgotten. Forgotten? To wish you a happy birthday. Adorable little thing. The smile Lance gives me is too shiny, it almost sparkles. Oh, sparkly boys. A very blessed happy birthday to you, Lucette. And they don't even need sunlight. Twilight reference. May both your nights and your days be filled with endless cheer and good company. Thank you, Lance. If Klaude knew Lance was the first to wish me happy birthday, he would cry. Which is probably part of the reason why Lance did it. Or maybe he didn't even think about it, to be honest. Now, Lance isn't the same way as the other guys in this game are. He probably didn't even think about how it might hurt Karma's feelings. The thought makes me smirk. Well, not hurt his feelings, but just like make him be dramatic again. My conversation with Lance is cut short after that, when at one point, instead of responding to him with words, I respond with an unintended yawn. I excused myself first that night, relieved that my conversation with Lance has helped clear the nightmares from my mind. I am sure that Lance will be able to solve his problems with help. As for my problems, I pushed the thought of Claude's melancholy smile from my face. My mind, not my face. What? For now, it is better not to think about it. Claude will want me to enjoy my birthday celebration without worrying about him. So for now, I will set aside these worries. I walked back to my room feeling a lot lighter than I had when I first left it. And I think it's also changing chapters, and it looks like we're not going to know if that was the right decision until later, so I'm going to leave that one alone. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I am Bacon, and welcome back once again to Cinderella Phenomenon Evermore, Claude's Route. Now, as I understand, I think there's only 6 chapters total, and I think we're going into chapter 3 now. So, haha! And again, hopefully there won't be too much time in between this video and the next one. At worst, it might just be a once a week type deal versus the 5 times a week I was doing before. I really appreciate those of you who have been patient with me. I also saw that I got some new subscribers. Hooray and welcome. I hope you guys liked it. Oh, good gravy. Either way, thank you guys once again. I am Bacon, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!